Anshu will start. Is it you or Feb?
Ako kasi si PAASE, pero pumasok yata si Feb. So, Feb, can you pass the host right to the other PAASE?
Akala ko ikaw yung host. Angie.
Angie, you're the current host.
Yeah. Hindi, pangalan niya yung Angie, pero si
Ako si PAASE. Ako si PAASE.
si PAASE.
Si Angie ay other account ko.
Angie, you're now the host. You're now the
I'm
host.
now the host. Which one is the...
Yung Angie now.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so good morning, everyone. In celebration of STEAM Career Month, the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering, or PAASE, launched its three-part STEAM career series, a webinar program designed to guide and inspire students, educators, and aspiring professionals by connecting them with experts across science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematical fields. The series aims to highlight the diverse career possibilities within STEAM, showcase real-life stories of impact, and demonstrate how interdisciplinary knowledge can shape a better and more sustainable future. So in leg one, we opened the series with stories that blended technology, innovation, and personal passion. Dr. Anthony Chu outlined his impactful career in engineering and sustainable development, linking local action to global goals, while Dr. Sherwin Uy shared his personal journey of finding his ikigai, his life's purpose through robotics, encouraging students to align their passions with innovation, while Dr. Manuel Garcia took participants through the aromatic world of coffee science, bridging academic research with community engagement, while Dr. Riza Batista Navarro highlighted the power of artificial intelligence and natural language processing to advance social good and sustainability. While in leg two, we shifted gears to focus on the human side of STEAM, the social sciences, and the role of math in our everyday lives, highlighting the essential roles they play in a well-rounded STEAM ecosystem. Dr. Mariano Santo Domingo gave an engaging presentation on the value of careers in social science, demystifying fields such as psychology, sociology, political science, and anthropology. He emphasized how these disciplines help us understand human behavior and societal systems, insights that are crucial in today's complex world. While Dr. Debbie Versosa explored the evolving role of mathematics in the age of AI. Her talk highlighted how math, when taught with empathy and contextual relevance, can promote ethical thinking, data literacy, civic engagement, and together they champion a multidisciplinary approach to education that bridges STEM and the liberal arts. Today, as we now look forward to leg three, the culminating session of the STEAM Career Series, we continue to celebrate the diversity of STEAM disciplines and the unique career pathways they offer. This final leg will further emphasize the importance of cross and multi-sector collaboration and lifelong learning in building resilient, inclusive, and forward-thinking communities. So stay tuned as we wrap up this inspiring series with even more stories of innovation, passion, and purpose. Maraming salamat. So we would like to start this by introducing our first speaker. I'd like to introduce Maridon O, who is currently the Undersecretary for Scientific and Technical Services of the Department of Science and Technology, Philippines, a position she has held since 2022. Prior to assuming this role, she held several key positions in the DOST, such as the Assistant Secretary for Finance and Strategic Planning, Director of Planning and Evaluation Service, and the Chief of the DOST Special Projects Division, which is responsible for managing the department's grants for science and technology programs and projects. She started her career at the DOST after graduating from college and has been working with the department in various capacities since 1987. Her journey as a public servant in the field of science and technology started when she received DOST scholarship grants for her secondary and her special high school for science, PAASE, and then undergraduate and master's degrees. Her work experience spanned more than 30 years. She held positions and assumed responsibilities related to S&T, strategic planning, information dissemination, and advocacy, technology transfer, policy formulation, as well as administrative and resource generation for S&T. And in her current post as Undersecretary, she works on S&T human resource development, strengthening of S&T infrastructure and services, formulation of national S&T plans and programs and their monitoring, evaluation, assessment, science communication, policy development, and advocacy. She is also the supervising official of DOST attached agencies that undertake these line functions. So she holds a master's in technology management and Bachelor of Science in Biology from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. She also attended various local and international trainings and workshops and conferences. So without further ado, again, I am Gladys Completo, President of PAASE. I would like to call on Yusek Maridon Sahagun. Ma'am,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Gladys, for that generous introduction. And I'd like to start by thanking PAASE for the invitation to be part of this STEAM career series and the opportunity to engage and encourage our youth to pursue STEM careers. So isang magandang umaga po sa ating lahat, especially to our young audience. Good morning to all our PAASE members. And again, thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to digress a little bit with the introduction already made by Dr. Gladys. I'd like to focus my talk, especially on encouraging our young scientists, our youth to pursue careers and become researchers, scientists, and innovators, which is also a mission of the Department of Science and Technology, especially under the portfolio that I manage, which is Human Resource Development. So I'd like to know how many of our audience, at least those our grades 11, 12, have decided to pursue science degree programs. Meron ba? Can I have a show of hands? Meron ba nga sa ating mga audience? But anyway, the results of UPCAT and many admission tests in the universities have been released, and I hope many of you have decided to take on careers or courses in the sciences or STEAM. So next slide. So a start, siguro for our young audience, can you imagine a world without science and tech? So next slide. So these are the technologies that we have before, many of which are probably not available now, or even our young audience are not familiar with. But during my time, sasama ko na si Al kasi kaklase ko siya. We know this, but yes, now we have all sorts of technologies that made things easier for us. Our emails, social media platforms, the streaming services, banking, and other types of services are available with our fingertips, and I'm sure our young audience can no longer live without their cell phones with them. And the data in various forms, like images, videos, texts, are all stored in the cloud, and these are unimaginable during our time. Next slide, please. So we've seen even significant improvements in disaster prevention, mitigation, and response because of technology. Next slide, please. So without science, how can we really function now? Science and technology have shaped our world, solved problems, saved lives, and made things impossible. Those impossible, nearly possible. So from the first fire to artificial intelligence, humanity has indeed evolved through discovery and innovation. And without science, we would lack knowledge, and without technology, we would lack progress. So next slide, please. So behind all these technologies, behind all these innovations, next slide, are brilliant minds, our researchers, our scientists, and engineers, and visionaries who dare to dream and push boundaries. So, but innovation isn't just for the experts. Every curious mind, every bold idea, and every small step forward contributes to progress. So I'm sure our audience would also like to be part of this forward-looking steps that we need in nation building. Next slide, please. So, because I am in the Department of Science and Technology, I'd like to share with our young audiences who are the scientists and innovators, because they are not only they did not come only from other countries or the more developed ones, because we also have a share of development and advancements in science and tech. For example, one of our scientists is Gregorio Sara. He invented the video phone in 1955, and his invention, called the photo-phone signal separator network, allowed for real-time audio and video communication, paving the way for more modern video calls. Dr. Eduardo Quisumbing is a known Filipino botanist for his extensive research on Philippine medicinal plants. Next slide, please. So Dr. Alcala is a Filipino marine biologist and environmental scientist known for his groundbreaking work in marine biodiversity and conservation, which is very important for the Philippines being an archipelagic country. And of course, we have Dr. Fe Del Mundo, a Filipino pediatrician and the first woman admitted to Harvard Medical School. She was a pioneer in Philippine medicine, particularly in child health care, and one of her notable inventions was the improvised incubator designed for rural areas without electricity. It used native materials and a makeshift heating system to help premature and low birth weight babies survive. Next slide, please. More scientists with us. Dr. Lourdes Cruz, of course, she's recognized for her groundbreaking research on conotoxins. And we have our national scientist, a Vogue cover, si Dr. Ramirez. Dolores Ramirez has been working on genetic systems controlling makapuno, the endosperm of coconut, the genetics of chemical resistance factors, and the cytogenetics of the hybrids of rice with related species. And of course, in the tech area, we have Dr. Diosdado Banatao, a Filipino entrepreneur and engineer working in the high-tech area, and is one of the first inventors of GUI interface accelerators for personal computers, the first system logic chipset for IBM PCXTs and PC80s, which are the precursors of the current computers. More, we have Dr. Carmen Padilla for her significant contribution to medicine, especially in the field of genetics or the newborn screening for genetic disorders. We have Reynabel Reyna Reyes, a Filipino astrophysicist, a data scientist and educator, now with the Philippine Space Agency as director of the Space Science Mission Bureau. And our very own Dr. Bio, who's retired now, but used to be the director of the Philippine Science High School System and the director of the Department of Science and Technology Science Education Institute, which handles our scholarship programs. And throughout her career, Dr. B has been committed to advancing science education in the Philippines. So until now, there are brilliant minds in STEM that continue to create impact, and many of them work in government. So next slide. So here is many of those working in government. I put in this slide all the directors or many of the directors of the various agencies, Research and Development Institute of the Department of Science and Technology, but no less than our Secretary Renato Yusalado Jr., who is a geologist before he became the Secretary of Science and Technology. He, like many of us in the department, started his career in the Department of Science and Technology. So where do STEAM graduates go, my dear students? Next slide. There are STEAM careers in government. So you can name them, we have them. So you can be an engineer, a statistician, a nutritionist, a data scientist, a medical practitioner, a chemist, a project manager, marami, all sorts, because the government is also the biggest employer. We have around 1.6, 1.7 million in the in the civil service, plus the many contract of service employees in government and those employed in the local government units. We have a lot of opportunities in public service. So next, so that government needs and will continue to need STEAM graduates as part of its workforce or as service providers to government. So next slide. And as you will see in the news very recently, government is really pushing for initiatives that need STEM career. And so because of the pronouncements that government will digitalize, that will push renewable energy, improve agriculture, conduct various R&D. These are the careers, these are the jobs that would need STEM courses that we hope our young audience will pursue in due time. So next, so graduates of STEAM are needed in nation building. Next slide, because we need you to contribute and address problems on e-mobility, improve our agricultural productivity, pursue industry competitiveness, make sure, next slide please, and the disaster preparedness and response would be improved through your innovations. And we hope that a better quality of life will be given to our kababayan through science and tech. And in the realm of research and development, the Department of Science and Technology would have on your table a lot of, next slide please, a lot of research and development areas that you can pursue when you become part of the public service workforce, especially in the area of research and development. So we have priority areas in agriculture, aquatic and natural resources. Next slide, please. In health, next. In industry and energy and emerging technology, and in basic research. And of course, there's a lot more to this because as we continue to develop and address more problems and more challenges in the society, we need to have more innovators, deepen knowledge in science so that new solutions and opportunities for our people would be available. Next slide. But students hold the key to the future, and the research is a tool that unlocks innovation, but you will not be alone in your STEAM journey, at least when you pursue research and development and within the ecosystem of science, technology, and innovation. At the Department of Science and Technology, next slide, we have many support activities that we can provide to help you in your journey as STEM professionals. So number one, we have SEI scholarship programs. We take care of those who are interested to pursue STEM or STEAM from high school, since you already decided on, since you are already in high school, but you can also advertise that within the Department of Science and Technology, we have the Philippine Science High School System. So we already select and hone you and nurture you to become our future scientists, researchers, and technologies. Once you graduate from high school and pursue your undergraduate courses, we have scholarships for undergraduate. And we have around 10 to 11,000 slots for new or incoming freshmen. But every year we have more or less 50,000 scholars being supported under our undergraduate scholarship program. And you can pursue it from the start of your undergraduate course, or if you miss the course in the entrance exam for your first year, we have also lateral entry. That's the junior level science scholarships. And after you graduate and you still want to pursue and hone your expertise in the field of specialization that you've decided, we also have our graduate scholarships from master's to PhD to postgrad. And that this can be undertaken both in the country and abroad, especially in areas where the specialization or the courses are not available to us, or when the research program would require very specific expertise that can only be obtained abroad. So next slide. Yes, apart from the scholarship, and once you enter the system, we also have a set of incentives to keep you in the science and technology space. So we have the Magna Carta for scientists, researchers, and engineers, where a number of incentives are available to our public service workers, so including honorarium, sharing the royalties, specialist salary scale. This is to retain and attract qualified individuals in the field of science and tech, and to recognize their contributions in the area. We also have a scientific career system where you can also get the salary of an administrator, because normally they would say that as scientists, you cannot hold the highest rank or the highest salary grade, but you can under our scientific career system. Next slide. We have also funding for research and development projects. So with your expertise, I know you would want to pursue research, and we are supporting that through the many grants that the Department of Science and Technology can provide our researchers. And we have awards and incentives for outstanding accomplishments, including achievement of specific milestone like getting your patents, publication in index journals, etc. And as part also of our Magna Carta and under the Technology Transfer and Commercialization Act, RA 155, researchers can also monetize or get a portion of the proceeds from the commercialization of their research outputs. So I guess that's the last. The work is undergoing, and we need all the help that we can get from our young professionals. So I hope that we encourage you to visualize yourselves as future scientists, engineers, and innovators. Take on research that matters, take on careers in STEM, and imagine creating solutions that uplift communities, drive our country forward, because the future of science is in your hands. This is a fulfilling career, and I can say that because personally, I've worked with the department for many years, as mentioned by Dr. Gladys, starting from my graduation. Right after college, I entered the UST and have held many positions and many tasks that are all fulfilling. And I hope that this experience will also be true for the newcomers in the science and technology arena, especially in the public sector. So I guess that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much, and I'm very willing to respond to the questions later. Thank you very much, Dr. Gladys, and everyone. Salamat po.
Thank you, Yusek Donat. Indeed, you gave a comprehensive presentation and also a very inspiring one. Be a team leader, right? So next, we would like to move on to the next speaker. I would like to introduce all right. Our next speaker is Dr. Llorente Boñaga, a very good friend of mine, and I call him Teen. And he is in regulatory affairs professional with 25 years of pharmaceutical industry experience in global regulatory affairs, chemistry, manufacturing and controls, drug discovery, due diligence, people management, and mentorship. He has work experience in the US, Switzerland, China, and Japan. So for his work experience, he's the Senior Director, RACMC at Merck, a US global pharmaceutical company, a lead regulatory professionals supporting global clinical studies and marketing applications for a portfolio of drug candidates. Also regulatory affairs under Roche, Genentech, and other companies. You can see that. And in drug discovery at Johnson & Johnson. For his education, of course, he graduated, I think, I have to brag this team. He graduated valedictorian at Goa Central School, right? From Goa Camarines Sur. And he got accepted at UPLB and graduated, got the degree of BS Agricultural Chemistry, and went on, proceeded with PhD in chemistry with a specialization in organic chemistry at Florida State University. And he actually inspired me to do my postdoctoral stint also at Scripps, where he went there at the Scripps Research Institute and did medicinal chemistry later on at Johnson & Johnson. So what are his industry activities? He is an active member, lead of several working groups in the International Consortium for Innovation and Quality in Pharma Development in the US with expertise on antibody drug conjugates, co-processed API and China registrations. So he is also a member of AAPS, right? American Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists. And you can see his face all the time. He's very active in FB, and he always presents seminars, not just in the US, but worldwide. So without further ado, I would like to call on Dr. Llorente Boñaga.
Can you hear me? Thank you so much, Gladys, for the introduction. And I would also like to thank PAASE for inviting me in the sharing of my own perspectives of a career in science. So it's a little bit a mix of I'd say training that I got from the Philippines, coming from the province, from a central school and a national high school, that went on to do work internationally. So that's the angle of what I'm going to be sharing sa karamihan ng mga for the PAASE and also for the attending students na tumitingin ng science as their future career. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the slides from my end, so then I can control it, because I revised the presentation a little bit. Okay, so can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just take out these. Sorry. Okay, so I'd like to start with the goal of the STEAM career series, because it gives me a perspective of my presentation. So this is intended to provide the students at the high school level with valuable insights on the different STEAM fields, so that they are equipped with the knowledge, resources, and inspiration to make decisions for pursuing careers in the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So my task, and from my perspective, I'd like to share my wisdom and knowledge on a career in the industry, having a science background and training, how I got to where I am, and my motivations for my career path. So I'd like to start with very general points of view with respect to education and also a degree in science. So growing up in the Philippines, we were always drilled that education is very important. And throughout the years, I realized that it is indeed a social equalizer. It has the ability to transform our lives through a degree in science, or better yet, if you do have an advanced degree in science, there is plenty of opportunities that is in front of you for personal improvement and enrichment, and also the ability to help and give back to the Philippine society. And so I consider the science degree as an excellent enabler. The scientific knowledge and skills have really provided us with a great foundation. And this is very important for me, for someone who's been away from the country for most of the time, which I see as a critical, which we need a critical, I'd say, thinking and problem solving that would help us in life and work situations. And I do think that is very important sa ating mga kabataan ngayon. And I also consider something an advanced degree further provides differentiation from the rest of the society. And the choice and pursuit of a professional career is a personal journey. It is not a one-time situation. So I have learned that I continue to reinvent myself and grow and be adaptive to the current situation. It is going to be a long journey, so we needed to be patient and be persevering. So in my next slide, I'd like to show the factors that would really impact the pursuit of a career. So the career in here is, I'm going to use my options. So all these different factors contribute with our career development or career determination. A very big thing is education, the skills that we have gained, the vision that we do have that would help us identify our career. Definitely our interest in a particular area that would dictate us, hopefully, to get to the career that we wanted, the values and the goals that we do have in life. So the next slide would just be some kind of realistic perspective or a level setting with respect to career choice, and also with respect to the factors that influence our success. So you would realize that there are things that we can control and there are things or factors that we cannot. For instance, the uncontrollable factors include who you're born to, and because in a way, this also determines the opportunities that are provided to you growing up and your formative years in becoming a member of the society. Second is where you're born. But the things that we can control is really what did you do with these two different situations, who you're born to and where you're born. So this is very critical considering the big disparity in the opportunities that we do have in the Philippines. So that is very important in the determination of a career, in my personal opinion. Success doesn't come to us, you go to it. And success at anything will always come down to our focus and effort and how we control these two factors. And I also like to close this slide with the sayings from Louis Pasteur and from Richard Branson, saying that in the fields of observation, chance favors only those minds which are prepared. Because the more you practice, the luckier you become, according to Richard. So these are very important principles or philosophies that I thought had helped us, or me at least, in getting to where I am today. However, as a sort of caution, it is important that we do not compare ourselves to others. Everyone has their own role to play. And the second one here is, do not be afraid to choose a different path than the others. So be your own master of your own direction or of your career or of your life. And this is a general career advice that I'm imparting to the listeners, mostly to the kids. So that number one is the chance or the opportunity or the success favors the prepared mind. And we should be able to recognize and seize the opportunities that are presented in front of us, right? And we do need to develop a balance of the following factors with our personal satisfaction and fulfillment. So we should not forget still our own happiness. And one thing that I've learned throughout the years of being in the industry or of being in the workforce is to network. So this is also another career advice. It is important to be able to identify what is our goal in life. This is very critical because once you know your target, you should be able to work on attaining the targets by, for instance, setting the goal, making the plan, getting to work, sticking to your goal, reaching the goal, and achieving a personal satisfaction. And these are the different considerations when you establish or when you set up a goal for yourself, the SMART goals. So they have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and also timely. Okay. And throughout the years of being in the workforce, I consider these professional skills that are very critical in the execution of a task, or basically in performing of a high quality in a workforce. I find the being highly detail oriented as very useful. Equally useful is being strategic. We need to follow through. We need to be passionate. We do need to have excellent writing and essentially communication skills. We need to have an understanding of project management tools. We need to be logical, flexible, knowledgeable of our area, and also it would help if we also know some allied areas. And from my field, which I'm now in regulatory, there is definitely the knowledge on regulatory intelligence. And this is also very critical, being collaborative. You thrive very well with friends, so you need to be working collaboratively with your company or with your colleagues. You should be well regarded and respected. You should definitely be well connected. And definitely you need to have some leadership skills. And these are the things that I thought are very critical. And whenever I'm looking for people, let's say for my team, I kind of look for some of these. Definitely we wouldn't have all of these, but it's good to have most of this and get trained and be aware of the other skills that we needed to have to be successful in whatever career that we have chosen. So these are the skills. And from the work perspective, here are the words of wisdom that I'd like to partake. So your work does not solely define who you are. We need to cherish our career, but never anchor our life in our career. What you do is not always who you are. But there would come a point in your life that this is really what's consuming us. It's really our career that defines who we are. Especially in our culture, this is very, very critical. When people address you, they would address you with whatever achievement that you have done in your life, mostly associated with your educational achievement. Second, always remember that you're more than just your job. The more you commit yourself to a multidimensional being, the more you realize that there is more to life. And the last one is that your failure or success in your job does not ultimately define your worth as a human being. Neither does it tell that you're superior or inferior to the rest of the folks. So the first part of my talk is all about my learnings, my philosophies, things that I have gathered throughout my years of existence and also from working in this industry. And the next part of my talk is my story. So this is a personal perspective and that I'd like to share with the audience and how I get to where I am today with my humble beginnings. So as what I've stated earlier, I grew up in the province. So resources are very limited there. So I started in a central school. I went on to get my education and secondary education in a national high school. And I was able to, well, I was grateful to be able to get into UP Los Baños for a degree. And I'm very grateful to that. And that took me to have, well, to gain admission to graduate studies in the US for chemistry, and also it allowed me to do my postdoctoral work. Unfortunately, I've done an academic postdoctoral work and also an industrial postdoctoral work. Now, the reason why I say academic is that at the time I was doing my postdoc, I was really so enamored by having that educational background, that would take me, which I thought would take me to the highest possible I can, based on my abilities, network, and what I know of the industry. So this serves as a stage which I call as a gaining the formal education. If you notice, a lot of the scientists or most of the scientists would have an advanced degree in whatever field that they do have. But you're really building upon that building blocks to get to where you wanted to be. or at least at the time, this is what I thought is my path. Being drilled on, education is very, very important. So basically, I was trying to lay the foundation, like following what everybody does, building the toolbox to be able to get to a point where I could find a good job. So at that point, I was just like a sponge, absorbing information, as much information as I can, and equip myself to be able to be worthy of having a job at that time. However, during the process, you're also learning about yourself, your interests and your passion. And what is needed in here at this stage, I do think, is the self-realization. What do you want more than what is expected of you? And guidance and mentoring and nurturing, these are also very important things that would help you achieve and have the drive to go through all these, because this is such a long, tedious process. And by the way, my postdoctoral work at the industry at J&J, essentially, it's what has given me the opportunity to enter the industry and my first job in the pharmaceutical industry. And so more details on my science journey. So what I'd like to point out here is, how do I get to where I am with my science background? So during my elementary days, I was heavily involved and probably developed by my mentors or teachers to be always involved in science fairs and quizzes, contests, and essay writing contests. Being, coming from a central school in a province, you're somewhat trained and groomed to be someone who's supposed to excel in all these things. So you got trained in science and math by elementary school teachers. And at that stage, I realized, or maybe you didn't even know or realize, that you turn out to be very competitive. And you do have an appreciation for the value of mentoring and nurturing. And in my secondary days, I continued to do these science fairs and quizzes just because that's what everybody does, if you've been trained in these two areas. So I was honed for science and math a lot of times. And there is this evolving GVSI, as what I had indicated. This is the goals, the values, so these are the goals, values, skills, interests, and vision. All these different factors are evolving as you go on throughout your education. And also there is the element of leadership. So this is also one aspect that is being developed. All of these things that I have written here, these are just like self-realization. These are the things that my mentors were doing to me without myself being aware of it, because they recognize probably your potential in, let's say, science and math, leadership potential, etc. So they were helping you frame you as as a wholesome person. So the next question is what to take as a major in college. So when I went to UP Los Baños, I got involved in two different organizations, the UPLB Chemical Society and the Society of Agricultural and Rural Development Scholars. So I came in as a scholar in UPLB, coming from the province, hoping to improve the situation in the province. So I was lucky enough to be awarded a scholarship to UPLB with that goal in mind. And so when I was in college, I conducted research. And so we do have thesis that we've done. At the time, it was on biochemistry and coconut water. And it also allowed me to further evolve in the development of this EEG, the goal, the vision, the skills, and the I. And at that time, that's when I began to have the realization that I do love organic chemistry. It was very difficult. However, it was something that I realized I love because I felt like it has taken me to a next level where I feel that I can understand organic chemistry very well. And at the time, as I said initially, I was involved in forging relationship and honing my leadership abilities while I was involved in these two different organizations in college. And then there is definitely this element of adaptability. So you're getting trained more on the sciences, independence, and life in general. And so after you finish school, after you finish college, what's next? So definitely the most logical thing is coming from the Institute of Chemistry at UPLB. We all, or almost everybody, would go to graduate school. So I went on to graduate school, and I learned that definitely it was very intense. Being, coming from UPLB and going overseas for grad school, you have to adapt once again, one more time. And at that moment, you further develop your abilities to teach and conduct research. And I did some kind of a trial and error with my major. I went in with an inorganic chemistry major / polymer chemistry, which I thought was the state of the art or the fad at the time. But I went back to doing organic chemistry because it was just validated at a later stage in my life. And also it honed my research and communication skills, writing skills. And these are some of the skills that are really necessary to be able to really function well in a big organization, be it in the fulfillment of a task, management, etc. And the values that I thought were very critical. So here are the values. There's hard work, perseverance, tenacity, focus, survival, competition, among the others. And this is when I also started doing academic networking, because what's going to happen next is after grad school, the next step is to look for a job. So that's when networking starts to enter, one of the activities that I do. Then I did conduct an academic postdoctoral stint at Scripps Research Institute, and more research. And I felt like I'm starting to get sick and tired of doing research. And once again, you need to adapt to this place. It was a very good place to conduct research at the Scripps Research Institute, doing cutting edge research work between chemistry and biology. And at that time, that's when you become aware that you needed to create professional networking, because that's when you have to start creating your network to be able to get to the industry as your entry to the industry. And I was also in a crossroad where would I go, in the pharmaceutical industry or in the biotech? And so what I've done is, after a year of academic postdoctoral, instead of jumping into the workforce right away, formal workforce, I did an industrial postdoctoral work at the Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceutical Research and Development. So once again, I conducted more research. So spending a lot of time in the laboratory, where I did application of chemistry to the pharmaceutical industry. So pretty much my stint at J&J kind of carved out a career path for me, which helped me decide whether I'd like to be in the biotech or in the pharmaceutical. So for the pharmaceutical industry, this is really involving the manufacture or the development of drugs, of the traditional drugs, such as the small molecule based API, or the active pharmaceutical ingredients like Tylenol or metformin and so on. And when I was doing my postdoctoral work, it further honed my communication skills with respect to writing more and more publication, presentations, etc. And I was also, once again, creating professional network, but this time in the industry. And I was also, while at J&J, that's when I first learned to have a feel for corporate world, which really had helped me decide that, I really love the pharma industry more than, let's say, the academia, or more than the biotech industry at the time. So what do I do now? Well, currently I'm doing regulatory affairs. Now, how did I get to reg affairs is another story. I started my career as a medicinal chemist at J&J because I did an application of organic chemistry in pharmaceutical industry. And being at this stage in my life, definitely the next thing that I thought that I needed to do is to work in the industry as a drug discoverer. However, there was a change in the focus of, let's say, the pharmaceutical development or the medicinal chemistry efforts in the US industry. A lot of them have ended up being outsourced to China, India, and some other countries. So essentially, I lost my position at J&J, and that's what took me to regulatory affairs. But how did I get to reg affairs? Well, it was also through my professional network, because my boss that ended up recruiting me to work on reg affairs also came from J&J, who happened to know the boss that I worked for at J&J when I was doing medicinal chemistry. So reg affairs is a profession that is developed from the desire of governments to protect the public health. This is very important, because by doing so, we control the safety and efficacy of the products in the pharmaceuticals, vet meds, medical devices, pesticides, agrochemicals, cosmetic, and complementary medicines. However, my work is only focused on pharmaceuticals, and some of my products have medical devices that are associated with that product. And this is developed, with this target by the agencies to regulate medicines by the companies who are responsible for the discovery, manufacture, and marketing of this product. Because by doing so, they made sure that the products are safe and they make worthwhile contribution to public health and welfare. So essentially, our main stakeholder are Department of, let's say, Health or Federal and Drug FDAs, essentially, of the US or of the Philippines and other health authorities globally. So what do we do? So we keep track of regulations in regions that are targeted for clinical studies. So these are investigational medicinal products and also for commercial products. So these are products that are being registered for commercialization or for marketing. And as regulators, we advise the company on legal, regulatory, and scientific requirements. And this is the thing, this training in scientific background that had really helped me navigate through these areas of regulatory affairs. Because the aspect of reg affairs that I'm involved in is CMC, which stands for Chemistry, Manufacturing, and Controls of investigational medicinal product and also of commercial products that are intended for marketing. So we make an assessment and compile and file for the scientific data that are needed to support the clinical studies and also for the commercialization or the marketing application. And primarily my role is on the CMC aspect. So this is for clinical studies. The non-clinical aspects are for, let's say, animal studies. And as part of our daily role, we prepare registration documents and negotiate with regulatory agencies in order for us to gain approvals for our clinical studies and for the commercialization of proven drugs. So why is there a need for drug regulations? Definitely, this is needed because of the issues that had happened before when there is no regulation that had been installed to regulate or control the quality. So this is consistent safety and efficacy of the products. So these are very old products. And back then, so there was no testing. The efficacy is very subjective, but right now, because of the development of the field, they are conducting well-controlled clinical studies that really would ensure high quality of the product, that the product that you're developing is safe, and that the product that you're developing is indeed working. And so how do I start my career? How do I start a career in reg affairs? We definitely need to find your industry and reg affairs network. The reason why I kind of like or enjoy presenting our work in venues like this is because no one would think that a chemistry background could be useful in regulatory affairs. One of the things that I realize, and even what I'm looking for in folks that join my group, is that they need to have very strong technical background, because regulations could just be easily interpreted. And our utility or value really as reg affairs professional is to be able to interpret the guidelines and requirements using our technical or scientific background. So essentially, I'm looking for somebody who would have a strong technical background and also a reg affairs mindset, having that flexibility, adaptability, and someone who's able to interpret the regulations. So if you can, try to get as much possible hands-on experience on the closest profession. And a lot of us usually start with a technical background. So people have been involved in various areas of pharmaceutical development, such as process chemistry or organic synthesis, formulation development, quality, and even toxicology, and so on. And then we need to stay current on regulatory regulations that are issued by health authorities globally. And we needed to sharpen our skills, which encompass both the technical and behavioral, because in reg affairs, it is very important for us to be able to negotiate. So there is a lot of soft skills that are being utilized in your daily function, even in convincing your technical function in the regulations that are being required or implemented by the global health authorities. And this global perspective is very important, because essentially pharmaceutical industry and also even definitely the biotech industry, they are developing globally for, essentially treatment for or cures for illnesses for the humanity. So it affects the global perspective. So it had to be a global point of view, not just a particular country. And here are the typical profiles of RA professionals that I'd like to share. For a vice president, for instance, just for the sake of completion here, there's like at least 27 years of professional experience. A director, 23 years, manager, 18 years, specialist, 14 years. And if you notice, a lot of these positions really show that it's helpful to have advanced degrees. So here one, for instance, you have 4329, 4618, 4512, 2440. Now, in my opinion, the reason why this is so is because with this field or with this area, it needed that critical thinking and strategic thinking to be able to formulate regulatory strategies that use your technical or scientific background. And that's where I end my talk, and I'm going to be entertaining questions in the end with the rest of the speakers.
Thank you, Tin. Ayan.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving your tips to this aspiring scientists, at the same time giving information about regulatory affairs. So too late na ako to change career, Tin, because of the number of years required.
Yeah, there is an aspect of serendipity, definitely. This is also something, I mean, in honesty, when I left the medicinal chemistry area, I just Googled jobs requiring chemistry background, and that's one of the things that show up. When I did that, I was just lucky that apparently I had a connection to be able to get into the area. So that is part of it. But however, if you wanted to really get yourself into an area like this, you really have to direct and start putting in those tools or those knowledge that you needed to have para makapasok ka.
Yes, thank you again. And then please stay, and then we will have our Q&A portion later on. And then I hope the students got inspired. We also are being live streamed. And so far, we have more than 80 viewers sa FB po natin. So now, Angie, please introduce the next speaker.
For our next speaker, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Joel Ilao, who's a full professor in the Department of Computer Technology at College of Computer Studies of Salle University. His research interests lie in the fields of digital signaling processing and computer vision, corpus linguistic, and robotics and automation. He holds a degree in computer science and electrical and electronic engineering from DLSU and University of the Philippines. He was a visiting researcher at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany and University of Nottingham in United Kingdom. He is a member of PAASE, IEEE, NRCP, and he's a leaders in innovative fellow of DOST and UK Royal Academy of Engineering. Currently, he serves as the director of the DLSU Advanced Research Institute for Informatics, Computing, and Networking. So Dr. Ilao led a DOST-funded project entitled Titan, which is now developed. They develop a monitoring system for vehicular and pedestrian foot traffic from video feeds taken from ordinary surveillance camera. And the second phase of the project was funded through another DOST grant and was completed in 2020. So in 2022, he and some colleagues established a spin-off company called Vision Technologies Corporation, which provides computer vision-related research, development, and innovation service. Without further ado, allow me to welcome Dr. Joel Ilao.
Okay, thank you very much, Angie, for the very comprehensive introduction. Okay, let me just correct the name of my spin-off company. It's Vision Technologies. So it's vision without the I, because apparently this was done by a team, not just by a single person. Kidding aside, but yeah, we are a computer vision company. So for today, I'm excited to talk to the high school students, no? The next generation stalwarts of science for the Philippines. And I hope that you'd be inspired to take on the STEAM career so that you could have impact on your society by pursuing a technopreneurial journey. So although it's a STEAM career, no, I know the concept, the concept of a technopreneurship is the merging of business and science know-how. So it's important that you have the scientific know-how before you build on the business mindset so that you can come up with technologies that the society could definitely use, and which also goes back to through finance, for example, financial perks, no, so that you could sustain your entrepreneurial ideas. Okay, so Angie was able to introduce very well my profile, but suffice to say, I started as a highly technical person. So you see, my academic background started engineering, and then there's computer science, and then back to engineering. I was trained at would like to think some very nice institutions in the world, such as one from, of course, the Philippines, two from the Philippines, UP and DLSU. And I had an opportunity to be trained in what they refer to as the MIT of Germany, the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. So just like Angie, who was also trained in Germany, I too was trained in Germany. And so as a scholar of the Philippines, starting high school, no, I was a scholar, a merit scholar, all the way to college, and my graduate studies. Um, the sense of patriotism was instilled in me, no, because I understand that other people are paying for my education, and therefore that influenced my in my directions of the decisions that I took career-wise, no, leading to this moment. Okay, so let's go back to my startup company. Okay, so Vision Computer Specialist is a kind of a company that develops computer vision-based solutions for its clientele. So as a faculty member from De La Salle University, you probably could see, no, based on the color scheme, that I come from the Green University. And so we had the fortunate opportunity to have our mini projects that were curated for a couple of years, and different generations of students working under me, to be funded by the Department of Science and Technology. And after having proven the effectivity of the algorithms that we've developed, we had the confidence to establish a company. So, which is called Vision Technologies Corporation. Okay. So I'm happy to tell you the banner technology under this is what we refer to as the Titan, which is a vision-based vehicle monitoring system. So I'm going to very quickly tell you how Titan works. So consider this current scenarios. Now, there are several CCTV cameras all around the city, but the problem is not only a small fraction of the videos that were taken by the CCTV cameras are actually processed to provide intelligent information for decision makers. So that's a sad reality. You probably have experienced if or somebody you know may have experienced um, losing something, probably to petty theft, and then in a public space, you see that there's a CCTV camera there. You go to the corresponding office, let's say the mall security office, who is in charge of the CCTV camera, and you have difficulty trying to access the data. And it takes if ever you were given the chance to review the footage, it will take for just a few minutes. No, it would take a couple of several minutes to hours just to be able to figure out what happened. So that's just one scenario. No, if you take it on trying to monitor the state of traffic situations in the country, then that would require processing several hours of videos of different cameras. Um, and trying to figure out how traffic situations in one area would affect other um, traffic situations in other streets that are near that. No, and we don't have any technological capability to do that. So there are command centers by traffic management centers, but um, the people there who man the traffic centers are only in charge of a few um, videos that they try to process manually, no, and of course the ability to detect useful information or events there would be limited because only people are basically scanning the videos and making sense of it. And added to the fact that they are treated um, individually, you cannot process the whole data coming from all of the videos to make sense of the trends that happen um, across different parts of the city that where traffic influence each other. So our idea here is to tap the different CCTV cameras all around the city and then process the videos and generate some useful traffic insights, no, for our decision makers. So our primary client, the one that we're thinking of when we were doing this, is the Traffic Management Center, the Metro Manila Development Authority. No? But after we finished this and underwent various trainings, technopreneurial trainings sponsored by the university and the government, we realized that this basic functionality would have different more impactful applications, no, not just to government facilities but also private corporations. Okay, here's an example of one of the output no, of Titan. And we actually did this during the pandemic when one of my colleague thought of an idea to measure the influence of checkpoints during the height of the lockdowns on the traffic on a particular vicinity, and use this information so that they could identify optimal locations of checkpoints, so that traffic is not so much impacted, but at the same time we maximize um, the exposure of the checkpoints to various vehicular flows no, all around the city. Okay, so this is the video. You could see the output, and this is the one of the outputs which contains the trajectories of movements of vehicles so that we could better understand the speed, for example, the directions of movement, and translate that to something that our colleagues could process so that they could recommend better locations of checkpoints. Okay. But there are other possible applications to that. There are applications to real estate, for example. There are applications to security, etc. You just have to open your mind on where this could be proven valuable. Okay, but okay. Having said that, I'd like to tell you, if you are interested with going to the same career as I did, which is to become a technopreneur, I'd also like to remind you about some principles. Now, first, in the state of education in the Philippines, I don't think that the education is enough to cultivate the business mindset of students. No, if you're into STEM career or STEM education, um, there's not enough part or aspect of the curriculum that will develop the technopreneurial capabilities of the students. However, the good news is that mindset can really be cultivated. No, as I told you, I only started thinking about how do we commercialize our research outputs when I'm already an adult. I'm already a graduate, no? And we were able to establish the company last 2022. I'm already past my 40 years old. I'm already considered middle age when we started doing that. And yet I can see that we're thriving after establishing the company. And also, although I will be sharing my technopreneurial journey, I'd also like to tell that journeys are quite unique. So although I would tell you what my journey is. No, if you sample all or take a look at the uh, biographies of all the other known technopreneurs, both successful and unsuccessful, or successful later in life, you would see that it's quite varied. These are very, very varied. And the only thing that I think that I could assure you would be good points when talking about technopreneurship is, cultivating the right attitude and the readiness to tackle on opportunities would spell success. So you should be sufficiently prepared. You should be persevering and open to various opportunities. So there's a personality type of people who would be good technopreneurs, no? These are those who are technically proficient, who are good in personal excellence, also persevering because you wouldn't see, unlike doing thesis which is worth 1 year, you already have your output. Here, it would take several years, no, for you to be able to even earn something out of the efforts that you have, and it entails a lot of marketing, talking to people, and a lot of the times you'd reach dead end when talking to people. But if you just persist and you believe in your product or service, and more especially because you know that it will help the Philippine society, this you will go a long way, in your technopreneurial journey. So going back to my university, as somebody who was trained in research universities such as in UP and DLSU, I would like to say that the concept of our research community is very important in cultivating your technopreneurial inclinations. Okay, so first is the research lab that I belong to, which helped me explore the various iterations of technologies safely at the research laboratory with my students. So we have here in DLSU research lab called the Center for Automation Research, and you can see here in this slide several research projects that I was involved in. Not necessarily for commercial purposes, no, but definitely help us be wiser and put on the various elements that or ingredients that would allow us to build um, a more complicated functional system such as the Titan that I previously shared. So that at the top left, for example, no, we developed a system that would assess the maturity of sugarcane by looking at the colors profiles of certain images. So if you take a picture, for example, and it analyzes the color profile, it would be able to assess whether or not the sugarcane plantation is ripe for harvesting. And we were able to learn a lot out of that particular project. We also did monitoring of athletes, no, at the De La Salle University Sports Complex, where our students set up cameras to observe the practice sessions of our players. Okay, and that particular realizations helped us build the vehicle tracking component of Titan. Okay, in the middle is a project that we did with the College of Science, people from the College of Science, to monitor the presence of harmful algal bloom in the Taal Lake. So this enabled at least through this particular project of not only did we learn about the algorithms needed to process top view images of the Taal Lake. It also helped us figure out the needs of the community, no? We're not just technology generators. We were Because of this particular project, we were forced to interview the people there and understand their processes and develop technology that will be compatible with their processes. Okay. This one is a cute project that we did to differentiate the fingerprints of identical twins who are said to be 99% similar in their fingerprints. Okay, so through here, we're able to refine our what we refer to as image matching process to differentiate um, seemingly identical objects. The one that you see at the top right is also another cute project where a student developed through the use of a sensor which is Microsoft Kinect to monitor how a particular person who is learning karate moves so that you could actually score the karate moves of a learner that is based on the rubrics of a real karate coach. And that student happens to also be a karate coach as well. That's why, and an athlete. That's why this is pretty close to his heart. Anyway, so going back to the concept of smart cities, which is under which the Titan project falls under. I'd like to introduce this first, the concept of intelligent transportation system. So the intelligent transportation is another field of research where you just develop various technologies that allow you to make the business of commuting and movement much faster or more convenient through the use of technology. So it entails a lot of elements. Now, first, there needs to be sensors that sense movement of people as well as vehicles, and there also needs to be what we call as actuators, which move depending on what the these are motors, for example, or you know traffic lights that behave according to the data or information that it senses in real time. Okay, there's an actual definition to that, but you know, I'll just gloss over this one and tell you more about how I discovered um, my passion for doing entrepreneurship. Okay, so when I was in high school, actually, I was good in. I remember being good in science, also being good in math, but between biology and let's say physics, I'm better in actually in biology though. When I when my classmates or my batch already thinking of courses to take in college, um I I don't know if I'm like you, but at that time though, I really am quite clueless with a good suitable course. During those times, I remember I'm only interested in keeping high grades, but I really didn't put much thought on what particular course to take in college. Actually, I only decided last minute, the night before the submission of the application, to take on an engineering course because at that time it was my brother who told me that this is the popular hot course at that time, which would assure a high income after graduation. So that's my own motivation at that time, no, when I took, not really thinking how difficult it would be, no, if you enter that particular course. Okay, so okay, I got accepted into UP, and it was a you know a big adjustment for me because I did not come from a science high school, and I just graduated from a regular school. My classmates were all most of them are science high school graduates, and I really had to catch up. So it took me probably 2 years to be able to catch up. But and For the first 2 years, I was even wondering if I um, if I took the correct course. No, I was accustomed to getting high grades in high school, um, being at the top of my batch. So that's why I didn't think about um what course to take because I thought, I'm too confident at the time that I could take on any course. But when I took my engineering in UP, that proved to be quite challenging for me. But thankfully, I was able to catch up. Okay, and while I was through the process of being a student there, I started to love my course, which is electronics and communications engineering, because I realized there are so many things that you could do with an ECE background, okay, both in hardware as well as in software development. So, but when I graduated as my bachelor's, I was highly technical. I'm not really good in finance. Finance and commercialization is really far from my mind at the time. Um, I suppose I entered the academe. Also not with my own volition. It just happened. No? So I got recommended to apply to the academe, and being somebody is open to new opportunities, I took the chance, and then that started my journey as an in the academe as a faculty member. But I remember when I was in college, um, we had an undergraduate seminar course, which um, which allowed us to pitch an idea to a an imagined panel of funders. Okay, and the first thing that we thought, that was 2001. is something that would analyze the traffic in the city through the network of cameras. So, and based on the information, traffic information, be able to I determine a suitable route that would minimize your travel time, commute time. So that was in 2001. Okay, if you think about it, that's quite very no, near already to the idea of the present ways, right, in Google Maps. But at that time, there's no concept of smartphone, and we were using cameras that are installed at the roadside. And then, of course, we graduated. That's part of history. When I went back to graduate studies, I went back to UP, and as part of my ERDT, or Engineering for Research and Development Technology scholarship, we had to take a technopreneurship course. And when we were brainstorming on the idea for a topic, this again came to mind. So 9 years later, we resurrected the idea and came up with a better version, one with demonstrations such as the one that you would see here. Okay, it had a positive feedback from the uh from the panel. We were happy that we got a passing grade, but somebody from UP TechnoHub emailed us inviting us to further develop this so that uh we could possibly come up with a startup company out of this. So actually, we just wanted to pass the course at that time and graduate, and so we didn't pursue the invitation. But because the idea is already planted into my mind, it didn't escape me. Even after graduating and going back to my um, responsibilities as a faculty member, it subconsciously there's my mind is willing to try out if there's an opportunity to commercialize the research that for I guess that's already the second iteration of doing this, no. um and thankfully the university environment allowed me to um develop various prototypes versions with various technologies doing the same vehicle monitoring. And because of opportunities from the university to fund this research, as well as from the government, the Department of Science and Technology, we were able to come up with a spin-off company out of it. So looking at the timeline, you see the idea started with 2005 with various mini component of the projects, various generations of students spanning for a total of probably around 1.5 decades. Okay, here's an example of an early prototype. Okay, where we developed a license plate recognition system for parking, and that was 2005, even before, way before it became in vogue in some of the parking systems here in Manila. So we're already doing this. Okay. In 2018, we were funded by DOST. In 2020, the phase 2 of that got funded as well. And yeah, so that really started our jump started our journey towards commercialization. Thankful for the DOST. So my first lesson that I'd like to impart here is you have to trust the process. You have to be persistent with your dreams, no? So don't let it go. Okay, so you have a bright idea. Your first iteration would probably not be very good, but you have to be very persistent with improving that, no? So try to think of it as as various versions of the idea until you get the right formula for the technology that you'd like to use for improvement of the Philippine society. And you have to be capable at first to do that. It would be hard to be a technopreneur if you do not know technology. And so it's important that you um, take a STEM career, STEM education for you to be confident, no, to be a technopreneur. So, and I'd like to also say that there's this also one experience that I became one of the key milestones, no, in our technopreneurial journey. So this is when we were selected to be a participant of the Philippine Innovation Entrepreneurship Corps Batch 2, which was offered by the UST and also pushed by Sir Al Serafica, and was also here in this call. Okay, so there were 5 of us in our team. That's the typical composition of a startup group. So I, functioning as the CEO, I recruited my programmer, and he became the CTO, or the Chief Technology Officer, still with us right now. Also now a faculty member part-time. We were able to we were introduced to our business development officer, who came from the business College of Business of the LSU. And thankfully, we had a good rapport, and so she's still with us right now, doing some business development stuff for us. We were mentored by somebody from the industry, Mr. Sherwin Nones, and then uh, we were also able to onboard our technology transfer officers, also now into marketing. He's now our chief marketing officer. So one thing that I'd like to point out here is to come up with a good team that will allow you to pursue a commercial venture, and make sure that this team knows are people that you could work with and are also committed to the idea. Okay, so I was fortunate to have found that particular team, which enabled us to pursue persistently, that particular goal, despite the whole long-winded process of the technopreneurial journey. And secondly, I'd also like to point out the value of the various training programs that the university, as well as the government, to the Department of Science and Technology, in um, honing the technopreneurial skills of the people, okay, of the Filipinos. So let's be thankful for that. So, reflecting on my journey so far, I realized that these things are needed, for you to be to persist and eventually be successful. First is to know your why. Okay, so in my case, at that time I was really as a typical commuter. At that time, when I was an undergraduate student, I would go from my house in Las Piñas at the south of Metro Manila, and then commute to the University of the Philippines in Diliman in the north. And at that time, I think flyovers are being constructed, and it takes me 2 hours just for that 30 kilometers or so distance from my home to the university. Um, so because I was frustrated with traffic, when I graduated, I thought of this as the one of the key societal problems that needed to be solved, which I think I could use my expertise on, or my technological expertise on. So when the going gets tough, um, there are you knock on various doors. Chances are they would not open even the door to you, and if they open, they would close the door eventually. I'm referring to some funders or potential clients. Well, it's something to do with market readiness, for example. And so there could be a lot of disappointments, no? But if you stick to what's your reason for doing this, it will really sustain you. And even if we're not earning for the first part of our technopreneurial journey, my team stuck with me because we all believe in the goal of helping improve the Philippine society. We were also quite proactive. We learned how to iterate quickly, and to follow where the opportunity leads you. And so even though we have an initial plan, we're quite flexible, and there's a term for it in technopreneurship, which is pivoting. No? So we kept on pivoting from the original idea so that we develop something that would be really useful for our intended clients. It also helps to have mentors. So we also proactively seek for mentorships from various locations, be it in the university or in the ecosystem that we have on technopreneurship. Thirdly, is to realize that we are part of a big community, a big ecosystem. So we need to embrace that. So after we realized that we cannot do this alone, even if there are 5 of us, we started being open to opportunities, um, doing a lot of networking, joining various pitching competitions, etc., and even accepting invitations to present in front of other people, because that's the only way that you could ensure that you remain relevant, and that you find partners who could help you, along the way. Okay. I think this is quite important. Uh, Good qualification of being a technopreneur. So not only should you be good in your technology, in science, but you also need to also be effective in your communications as well, and in relating with other people. Okay. Yeah. Second is to develop your mindset. So as I've said, no, there are many disappointments. There's such a thing called the death valley, for startups, which is a period where after you set up your startup, it's a long time frame before you actually earn and then be able to recoup the expenses that you have. Okay, so um, it's character forming actually. For those who are accustomed to always being successful, be acing your exams, for example, being at the top of your class, etc., not getting any failure. That would be difficult, no? But that's really part and parcel of the whole journey. So you have to learn to embrace failures because it helps you be better. Okay, and finally, you need to enjoy the process. You need to not just treat your teammates as mere workmates, but also treat them as family members and partners. If you establish a good rapport among your teammates and also your other collaborators, that would makes a lot of difference, no? And actually would enable you to enjoy the whole journey. Okay. And always be excited in your entrepreneurial journey. When you talk to other people, tell them what you have. It's not just a marketing activity, but also it sustains internally, your interest in going through the whole process. So having said that, remember when I started my talk, I said that technopreneurial journey is quite unique. Okay. However, there are common elements to the success of being a technopreneur, and this is summarized in this particular figure. Um, you need to have an innovative technology and a strong business model. So that's about the product or the idea or the service that you are trying to commercialize. But it's also important that you have an entrepreneurial mindset. So being open to opportunities, pivoting when needed, having the stamina, um, the flexibility, etc., um, are part and parcel of being an entrepreneur. Okay, these are the things that you could prepare for, but also I think luck is also and timing is also important. So that's why if you prepare yourselves well, okay, when the opportunity arrives, which would come at its perfect time, you need to recognize that and grab that immediately. So all of these aspects are important in spelling the success of entrepreneurs. And of course, you need to be resilient, in your vision. Do not be do not stick do not be doggone stubborn, no, in your initial idea, because um, there's such a thing called market compatibility, where your product or service um, should be compatible, or at least serve the needs of the client. Because if the client don't see the value of what you're offering, no matter how much effort you put in your solution, nobody would buy it. Okay, and finally, I'd also like to point out that circling back to the concept of um, embracing the community, you also should recognize that it takes a village to come up with a successful entrepreneur. So, although you could be the best person in the whole world, no, technology wise, but if you're not good in connecting with people, communicating your ideas, if you refuse help, other people, or referrals, endorsements, etc., you wouldn't fly in your technopreneurial journey. We're fortunate to have this many opportunities from various components in society, such as educational institutions, the government helping, funders such as venture capitalists, banks who could provide you loans, etc. Just be open to that, and I know that the day of a technopreneur is very long, no? Because you have to do a lot of things. Unlike, a research scientist who's just at the lab whole day, you have to talk to a lot of people. You have to go back to your drawing board and revise iteratively, etc., etc. It's not for everybody, I may say. Only for those who are willing to take the effort and to take the risk. Because I can assure you, once you see the rewards, that could be very rewarding to you. So that's all. Thank you. I hope that you learned something and got inspired by this mini presentation. So if you are interested enough, please feel free to shoot me an email through this particular email address. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joel. So we will quickly shift to our next speaker.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so Lauren, you may share your screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Can people see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to go fast to give time for Kat as well. So I left my email at the end if anyone has any questions. I just have I cut down a couple of slides. So I wanted to start with this slide. This is my family. So I'm on the right, and I'm sharing this slide because my family doesn't, or at least my parents didn't work in science. My Lola is on the left, so she ran a hairdressing school, and then my Lolo was a sailor. My mom is back there as well. I don't know if I can see my pointer. It's okay. My mom was a secretary, and my father was a sales representative for a drug company. So maybe he was the most adjacent to science, but no one or none of them were kind of directly scientists. And I wanted to share that because I think, and as I'll say at this end of my slides, I don't think that's a prerequisite to have a successful career in STEM. So how did I end up working in science? I think I was inspired by movies. The Probably a major part of my life was seeing Jurassic Park. Maybe some of you are probably too young to have seen this movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. The cast is all scientists, including one who wasn't Filipino, but at least he looked Asian, and I thought that was the first time I had seen an Asian person in a movie that wasn't doing kung fu. And it really inspired me, this idea that you could make dinosaurs using genetics, which actually now we're not that far off with bringing back the woolly mammoth. But that blew my mind that something like that could be possible. And I remember that I started thinking about that a lot in high school. Something else that happened in high school was I happened to get a chance to, I found a book on programming, and I got really interested in it. And I taught myself how to program. And one of the things I did with it was I used to play this game back when Yahoo had games called Word Racer. It looked like Boggle. It's a word game, and you have to spell out words using these letters that are in a grid. And so you're supposed to find connecting letters and make words out of them. And you get points for having longer words. And it occurred to me that you could write a computer program, or a computer program could solve this. So that was probably the first computer program I wrote. And obviously it's cheating, but I probably became one of the top players in this thing in the world, using this program. And obviously I wasn't doing it to win anything, but more it just amazed me that like what was possible using computers, that you could achieve almost like superhuman performance in a task, right? And that's kind of what's happening now with artificial intelligence. I think I realized this almost by accident early on in high school. So I went to college in New York, where I was born. As one of the previous speakers said, it's fairly important to have great mentors. I didn't know what research was, or scientific research was, and I happened to respond to a job ad to this man down there, Chris Wiggins, who has the dirtiest office I'd ever seen in my life. And but he was brilliant. And he took me under his wing. He taught me applied math and computer science, and we worked on building genetic networks together. And at the end of my college, he asked me what I wanted to do in my life, and I told him that I really enjoyed my research. And he explained to me, he's like, "Well, if you like research, you can get a PhD, and it's free," which was something I didn't know. And just to make sure everyone here knows this, that if you can get accepted into a PhD program in the US, they pay you. Now that you get paid about $40,000 a year, and you get your PhD at the end of it. And so this blew my mind. This seemed like a really good deal. So I applied. I went to apply to grad school. I got into MIT, where I happened to find another amazing mentor, a guy who almost became like an intellectual father to me. His name was Eric. And with Eric, I ended up working on something. My initial thesis project was a little esoteric, and it had to do with the evolution of bacteria billions of years ago. So when we study, when you go to the museum now and you look at life on Earth, usually they show you a bunch of old fossils. Maybe the oldest fossil is like 200 to 400 million years old. But actually life has been around for maybe 3.5 billion years. And there aren't really fossils of that. So you have to use computers actually to study the genomics of bacteria. And that's what we did together. But along the way, I started to really have fun in graduate school, where Eric, again, he was very creative, and gave me a lot of independence. I started this project with him where we would study the microbiome. So this is the bacteria that live inside of our gut. And I persuaded him that I should move to Bangkok and live in Bangkok for a couple of months and just eat street food and see what it did to my microbiome. So basically my job, I was getting paid to get a PhD, and all I had to do was live in Thailand and eat street food for it. And I felt like I had the best job in the world. I still kind of feel that way. So this is what comes out of it. This is my microbiome. This was probably one of the, it ended up being that for my PhD, I amassed probably the largest personal stool collection in the world. So this is my poop every day for an entire year, and each of these lines is a different bacteria in it, and how many of those bacteria are there. The green is when I lived in Thailand. I got very sick, actually. So then after that, I stayed in Boston for 3 more years. I became a principal investigator at Harvard. They had a program where you could be almost like a professor without doing a postdoc, but it only lasts for 3 years. And I worked with another very, very inspiring scientist named Peter. And we started to study more of food. And so I'll always remember, one of my favorite projects was we did a project where we started making meals for people. We started feeding them either a lot of meat or a lot of vegetables to see what it did to their microbiomes. And I remember, actually, it was just a lot of fun. We got together, there were a bunch of friends. We cooked. I'd never cooked so much food in my life. We in someone's apartment. And then we prepared all these meals, and then we did our study. And it was really a very short study. It was just meant to be fun. And then it ended up actually becoming the most highly cited paper in America. that year when it came out, and we were, it turns out, some of the first people to really prove that what you eat can shape your microbiome. And so I think of this as another example of where you know, it's if you just sort of do something that you find interesting and fun, often very good things can happen on the research side. So now I'm a tenured professor at Duke University. Our lab specializes in studying food, and we study the genetics of food, and we use the DNA that's inside of food to track what people are eating. So we we still work on poop, and when people poop, we can get those samples and we can study the DNA or measure the DNA from all the different plants and animals they're eating, and we use that to reconstruct diet. And so we can reconstruct diet for now millions of people doing this. I'm also a Billick scientist working at the DOST's Food and Nutrition Research Institute, as well as at De La Salle University with Dr. Ilao, where we continue to study food. And again, what we do now is we're studying the genetics of food in the Philippines. And so people will go to the wet market, they'll buy different fruits and vegetables, we'll extract DNA from it. And then we need very little, we need like less than a gram. So whatever's left over, we can just eat. And so this is like what's being eaten after our experiments. We've been doing, I think, some of the first experiments showing the genetics of what's eaten in the Filipino diet. These are teenagers in Marikina, where we're looking at the stool that's coming out of them, and we can start aligning what are the most commonly eaten foods, and ultimately we can be connecting that to human health. So, you know, it's very interesting, I think, that the kind of the messages I had around pursuing a career in STEM seem very similar to what others were saying. You know, persistence is very important. You know, you shouldn't, it's hard. Failure, you know, like about 80% of my grants and my papers get rejected the first time I submit them. And so you kind of have to love failure. And also I put up, it's important to be ignorant, which I know sounds very strange. But actually, I think a lot of the way along the way, had I known more about what I was going to do, or that the odds would be very bad for doing something, I probably would not have been as excited about doing it. So I think sometimes it's best to just close your eyes and try to do something and almost not even worry if it's going to work out, as long as you're really excited about it, I think. And also importantly, to work on things that you just find very, very interesting. I think to kind of get anywhere in the things you want to work on, you have to be willing to spend, you know, hours, days, years working on something. And so if it's just not intrinsically interesting, it's very hard to maintain the kind of motivation you need to do something. And importantly, I'd underscore that, you know, science really is, I had thought a lot about becoming a doctor at one point, and ultimately I decided not to, because it felt like if I was a doctor, maybe I could help, even if you're a very busy doctor, you could help like 10 people in a day. But a scientist, right? Like if we make discoveries or we have insights, right? Like the other speakers were saying, you can help an entire city. I showed this map here about nutrition and the burden of nutrition. It's poor diet is the leading actually health problem in America. And as you can see in the Philippines, it's an even higher problem. So if you can have, as a researcher, you have the opportunity to pick a problem that potentially impacts, you know, millions or billions of people. And so to me, that's almost like addictive. How could we not spend our time working on things that could touch the lives of so many others? And so finally, I'll just end with this slide here. You know, you've probably, maybe since you're younger, you've seen the movie Ratatouille, and this line really sticks with me, that you know, mapping it now instead of being an artist, but instead a scientist. And just as an aside, I think scientists and artists, there's a lot of similarity to them. And you know, the one of the punchlines of the movie, right, is that it takes a lot of dedication to be really good at what you do. But then for the like cooking, or I think science is the same way. Also, I feel like an example of where, you know, you don't also necessarily have to come from like a fam, or anyone can become a great scientist, I think, too. So if you have questions about any of the things I said, I know it's getting a little bit later, please feel free to email me. And thanks.
Thank you, Lawrence. Gladys?
Yes. Am I going to introduce Kay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So please, th- thank you very much, Lawrence. That's very, very inspiring. And now we'll move on to the last speaker. And it is an honor for me to introduce Kay. Okay. So Kay Aviso is a university fellow and professor of the Department of Chemical Engineering at De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines. And her main research interest is the development of decision support tools for environmental decision making. She earned her PhD degree in industrial engineering from De La Salle University, and she is an author of more than 280 Scopus Index publications. And maybe now it's more than 300. Maybe this is not updated. So she's currently an executive director for the Journal of Cleaner Production published by Elsevier. And she's also an associate editor for Digital Chemical Engineering and the South African Journal of Chemical Engineering, and part of the editorial board of several other international journals published by Elsevier, Frontiers and Springer Nature. She's also the author of the book Input-Output Models for Sustainable Industrial Systems. For her scientific work, Professor Aviso has received multiple scientific awards from government and professional organizations in the Philippines. So without further ado, I'm excited to listen to your journey, Kay. Let us all welcome Dr. Kathleen B. Aviso.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Gladys. So let me just share my screen. Yeah, the presentations of the previous speakers were very inspiring. Sige, I will also try to make this short since we've already extended our schedule. Hold on. Okay, hold on. All right. So just like Joel Ilao. So I come from De La Salle University. So as mentioned by Gladys, so I am currently a professor of the Department of Chemical Engineering. Incidentally, I'm also the current dean of the Gokongwei College of Engineering. So I will be sharing with you siguro my journey on how I ended up in this line of career. So let me begin with this one. So that's me when I was much younger, thinking about what did I want to be when I grow up. So maybe just like you guys, you have so many things going on in your life. And siguro every summer, diba, you would probably engage in different activities. So when I was young, my parents would usually enroll me in so many extracurricular activities. So I tried learning piano. I tried painting as well. But one of the more significant parts of my life before becoming a researcher or a scientist was actually dancing. So I was actually training as a ballerina for more than 20 years. However, when I was trying to decide on what career I'd be pursuing for my bachelor's degree, it was really a struggle between wanting to dance professionally and at the same time pursuing a different professional career because in the country, in the Philippines, sometimes you don't really get to earn a lot from the arts. So fortunately, when I was young, I really found an interest already in the STEM field. So I could see myself performing better in the fields of science and technology. So back when I was younger, I also wanted to become a scientist, but it wasn't really clear what the pathway of becoming a scientist was. So we did not really know, parang there was really no direction on what it was all about. But what I did was to capitalize on my earlier leaning towards STEM, so loving math, for example. And during that time, what seemed to be a logical career path was to take up a degree in in engineering. So I ended up taking a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering in the University of the Philippines. So these two photos illustrate my freshman year, which is on the left, and our graduation year, which is on the right. And so after graduating, my process then was I wanted to pursue a career in STEM, and at the same time I was thinking about the possibility of becoming a doctor. So I took an engineering degree that was also uh, a pre-med course. So chemical engineering was one of those. So parang my thinking was, at least if I finish my degree, I'm still an engineer if I decide not to pursue to become a doctor, a medical doctor. So I can still pursue a different career as an engineer. So after graduating, I decided to work in the industry for a couple of years. And then after a couple of years, I decided to return back to the university, initially to teach in the university. But when I returned in the university, I was fortunate that during that time, De La Salle University was offering scholarships for the master's degree. And I was fortunate that my CV ended up with Professor Raymond Tan and Professor Alvin Culaba, who are also both members of this PAASE organization and also the National Academy of Science and Tech. So they became my mentors, and I got convinced towards pursuing graduate studies, because I was thinking if I wanted to pursue a career in the university or in the academe, I will need the additional degrees. So I took up my master's degree in environmental engineering and management, and soon afterwards completed my doctorate degree in industrial engineering. So they are a bit different. So the different degrees that I took might seem very different from each other, but afterwards they all came together, no? So the thing that I'm doing now actually is a combination of everything I learned from these different disciplines. So during my journey in De La Salle University, that was the time that I realized that an academic institution does more than just teaching. So as an undergraduate student, I thought that all the university does is to teach students so that they can graduate with their degrees. But when I went to De La Salle University and took up my postgraduate studies, I realized that academic institutions were there not just to transmit knowledge, but to become creators of knowledge as well. And that realization was very empowering for me, to realize that I had the potential, or I had the capability to contribute to the global pool of knowledge and not just be on the other end as a recipient of knowledge. So as what was emphasized already, but by all the other speakers, the things that we enjoy right now, the different technologies that we have, they wouldn't have been created if no one pursued a career in science or in research. So the phone, so this is just a very, just one example, scientific roots of a touch screen. We take it for granted. We have the touch screen in our pockets, in our cell phones. But before these were created, it dates back to so many years of work and research, where scientists tried to figure out how to do this. And after that, they would file a patent and eventually create products that end up in the market. So it's a very long process. And we need people to be in that pipeline so that we can always continue developing technologies and improving technologies to solve some of our problems. So looking at the Global Innovation Index, no, for the Philippines, we can see that we are lagging behind, even for the Southeast Asian nations. And I think that's already one reason, one motivation for every one of us here to pursue a career in STEM, regardless of whether you end up in a university, in the industry, or in the government. What's important is the foundation, which has also been emphasized earlier on, because these are necessary for any country to develop progressively. So if we look at the first world countries, you can see their history with regards to science and tech. So it's good that in the last few years, DOST has really made big advancements towards pushing us to this direction. And so I'd like to tell everyone of the role of scientists in this ecosystem. So the things that we do as scientists eventually trickle down as policies for the government or as technology improvements for the industry, which are meant to improve the services being provided to the general public so that the public can enjoy better goods and services from both government, industry, and the society. So just to summarize, so what exactly is chemical engineering for those of you who might be interested in pursuing it? So essentially, it is a field on mass production of chemicals. So it's really more engineering side. So when you try to develop chemicals, so we know that chemicals are everywhere. We use it in everything that we in everything that we use in our daily lives. How do we produce them on a much larger scale? So that is what chemical engineering is all about. But later on, after I've completed my master's and doctorate degrees, I found out that there was this sub-discipline of chemical engineering called process systems engineering, which is the computational side of chemical engineering. It was not really popular when I was doing my bachelor's degree. In fact, the tools that we make use for process systems engineering might be linked to the field of industrial engineering more closely. So I guess dun na nag-converge no, yung PhD in industrial engineering and my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. So what do we do? So essentially what we do is to try and capture the systems, maybe for chemical systems, and try to translate that into mathematical formulations or mathematical models that can be set up in computers so that we can better observe how the system's components actually interact with each other and how they would respond to certain changes or certain scenarios. So with the recent development in technologies and the recent problems that we are facing, we are really looking at the different scales at which we can implement these technologies. So here in this figure, you can see the scale of the different sustainability problems that can be addressed or are expected to be addressed by chemical engineers and other scientists as well. So my work now is really focused on sustainability principles, particularly for SDG 13, which is on climate action. And what we do is to try and model systems at various levels of implementation. It can be at a very small scale within a single chemical plant. It can be on a macro scale, looking at an economy. And there are different areas of application which look at resource conservation, for example, renewable energy, and other sustainability problems. So more recently, these are the emerging technologies that are available out there. However, they are not yet fully implemented because these are new technologies. So the work that we do is trying to figure out how we can roll out these technologies at a larger scale so that we can get the maximum benefits that they are expected to bring. So for example, maximum reduction in terms of carbon dioxide emissions. So these are just some of the things that we do. So when we optimize or when we identify which technologies should be selected, we have to consider the different resources that it will require, as well as additional environmental impacts that it might bring in upon implementation. So what we want is to make sure that when we implement it, we actually reap benefits. So just to let you know of the implications of our work, so like what was mentioned in the introduction, these tools or mathematical models provide us with decision support. We're in for systems that we really cannot do trial and error. So we can model them in computers so that we get insights on how that particular system works. So it guides us for designing and planning and optimizing how systems are being implemented, and eventually can provide support for policy formulation. So I'd like to share with you the community where I work with. So these are the different researchers all around the world working on process systems engineering. And due to my line of work, I was also introduced into a lot of scientific journals. So I am also heavily involved in the publication of scientific articles. I did not expect to be in this particular field, but yeah, this is also a big chunk of what I'm doing. So as what was mentioned earlier, I'm involved in the following scientific articles, and it's good to see how that you're able to shape the trajectory or of how science is evolving in your particular discipline. So just to wrap up, so whenever you find a professor, you should know that they are not just teaching. So they are really doing so many things. They do teaching, they do research, they have to do administration as well as social engagement. So just to summarize, I hope you found, at least you learned something about process systems engineering and how it can provide a framework for engineering or designing more sustainable solutions. Know that the role of academia is not just to transmit knowledge, but also to create knowledge. And I hope that everyone will be inspired by the possibility that by being a researcher or by being a scientist, you can actually make a difference so many years down the line. So research is an essential aspect for innovation, and I'd like to encourage everyone to really explore a career in STEM, because not just for yourself, but the country, the world needs more scientists and researchers. So I'd like to end with that. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them, or you can send me an email.
Thank you very much. Very inspiring naman talaga, Kay, ang iyong journey. All right, so before we move on to the Q&A, we just want to present first our certificate of appreciation to all our guests. So I would like to read, yes, the certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Undersecretary Maridon Sahagun for graciously sharing her expertise as a speaker during the third leg of the Unlocking the Future, Exploring Careers in STEAM on April 26, 2025 via the Zoom platform given this same day. Signed, yours truly, and Angeline Ilao, PAASE Board of Directors member and the co-organizer of this event. I would like please to request all of the speakers to please turn on your videos, and then because in the interest of time, I'll be just showing the next what do you call that certificates without reading the citation. So the first one is for Undersecretary Maridon Sahagun. This followed by certificate of appreciation to Dr. Llorente Boñaga, and then to Dr. Joel Ilao, to Dr. Lawrence David, and of course to Dr. Kathleen Aviso. Thank you very much for sharing your journey to inspire more our younger generation to become scientists and engineers. Okay, and now we move on to question and answer. So pwede ba, let's do gallery siguro so that we can show their faces. Yes, Al, thank you, Al. And then maybe we can remove the Q&A slide so that we can see.
Thank you very much. Very exciting, inspiring, informative presentations from all the speakers. I don't know if our other two speakers, classmate Donette and Lawrence, is still in the Zoom. But
Yes.
clearly, I just wanted to position you where we are in the scientific community in the Philippines. No? Kasi that's partly my role, not only being involved with PAASE, as your past chairman and president, but that also being interactive with the National Academy of Sciences, both locally in the national region and the regional, as well as mentioned, we just formed the Balik Scientist Society of the Philippines to welcome them in the fold. Together, what we're formulating right now, especially probably for Ting, is that in order to solve any problem in the country, may it be growth stunting due to malnutrition, I wish Lawrence is here, we need a team, as Joel realized when we formed the National Philippine Innovation Course, which is an I-Core model, by the way, thing modeled after the NSF I-Core model in the US. No? We brought that here in 2018. It's for commercialization of NSF-funded research. So that's the, but that 5-member team is usually composed of the usual suspects. That's academe, industry, and government. But what we're advocating now is the likes of what Joel has crossed, being an entrepreneur, and then look for the risk capital that will fund the activities that this team will be able to come up to solve a particular problem. So since I already have growth stunting in our mind, there's 3 to 4 million kids that are growth stunted that are going to be conduct and pulpul, will not be educatable and not be productive citizens if we don't solve that problem right now. So we need the likes of Lawrence, which is a very good academic entity on microbiome analysis in terms of what should we feed the different kids in the different regions with different food availability. And then we need Kay, who's probably going to model that complex systems once the data becomes available. And we need Joel, to be the entrepreneur who would bring the solutions to these various regions. And of course, if the net is here, being able to fund that particular activity as an administrator of the UST, and currently the main source of risk capital, although National Innovation Council, SHED, and other institutions now are becoming part of it. But what we really need is what's missing here, Lawrence, is the availability of venture capital. I was in the US for 25 years. I received about $40 million worth of venture capital in my 6 years as an entrepreneur in the US with my own medical device company, making medical implants. And I've been trying to reproduce that environment for the last 12 years as a balik scientist and part of this whole ecosystem together with our PAASE members. And clearly, to me, how do you think we should be able to accelerate the formations of those teams and the recruitments of its members? Because you're already members of different, for lack of a better word, sectors and ecosystems. But we need a more organized way. Is it PAASE? Is it PAASE-NAS? Is it PAASE DOST Balik Scientists? But a think tank where every time we have a particular challenge we meet, because right now that's going to be my challenge for Gladys. We're talking about STEM now in generalities, but later down the road, we should start talk about real problems and our solutions as a group of people who already are implementing and localizing the implementations of such solutions. So that's the evolution of PAASE. Una, let's talk about what we do, what we can do, what we intend to do, but later down, what are we doing to solve these classic problems that are already in front of us? It can be environmental, fat, oil, and grease pollution, K, can be traffic. Joel has been at it. Of course, Angie is very much active in computational, so she can actually do all this AI-enabled interventions. And of course, we need a regulatory person like you to understand how do we understand the regulations and policy to implement the scientific solutions. And of course, Gladys will be our Madam President to get us all singing in the same chorus for our funders like the UST to bring us in our bi-monthly meeting. But my question to you guys is, what else can we do in PAASE to accelerate that transdisciplinary team formation that we are so much broadcasting in the National Academy, but I'm even having a hard time because most of the NAS members are a little bit on the senior citizen side. Kaya medyo nahihirapan akong to bring in the younger action members, which PAASE and of course eventually NRCP might have those kind of membership. But in your own areas of specific, how do you think we can accelerate those solutions so that you're not alone or a single academic institution, but a real transdisciplinary, multi-sectoral team tackling that problem that you're trying to solve moving forward? So I hope that's a clear enough question. Thank you.
Yeah, who wants to go first? Ang haba ng tanong mo kasi, Al. Ang haba.
Sige, si Kay na lang. Ladies first. Kay first and then
Sige, ako
the
na
two,
lang.
the
Ako
two
muna.
gentlemen.
Okay. Yeah. For me, feeling ko talaga, I'm not sure if it's going to accelerate, no? Pero I think ang importante talaga yung network. I think that's the thing na really drives things together. So I can see naman na madami kasi people are doing so many things, pero sometimes you don't know them or you don't connect with them. So I think that's what's important is being to figure out which ones are really working on the same things and are yung parang sabi ni Joel, importante talaga yung team. Tapos na pare-pareho kayo ng vision. Tapos you know that you can trust them in in delivering kung ano man yung goal or objective ninyo. So yeah, PAASE can be the start of that, and more frequent more frequent meetings. Hindi kaya yung isa lang eh. So dapat you see each other regularly, you get to know each other more. So yun.
Yes. I think you said Donut is here. Ma'am, you want to share first before before Tin and Joel? She's just using her phone now. Can you hear us? You said Donut?
Napopondohan natin Donut yan. Basta maganda yung solusyon.
Yes. Okay, so maybe let's wait for while we're waiting for her. Ting, you wanna go for it?
So what was the question again? Sorry.
You're muted, Al.
How can I recruit you to be involved in solving our problems here in the Philippines? Is it the Balik Scientist program that will do it?
Definitely. Yeah, because we are actually in the process of how do I say, helping the Institute of Chemistry under Gladys' leadership in UP Los Baños. And one of the things that we discuss is really the Balik Scientist program. The challenge that I do have personally is the fact na yung long absence ba, and because I'm working in an industry, it's not like a professor or something, which make things a lot easier kasi predictable yung bakasyon mo. Yeah, so it's really that commitment na you always have to be nakatali ka sa kumpanya, right? However, I'm active in participating in this kind of ventures or in this kind of activities with the hope na makatulong sa ng Pilipinas, right? And I do understand na just an observation. I mean, Alma, okay ka kasi application yung mo kaagad. But a lot of the things that we do when we consider science or technology in the Philippines is very, very, yung level ba it's really more on research. It's not so much of application yet. And the focus is really more on publication or promotion. Pero yung practical implications or utility ng humanity isn't there yet. Right? Kasi iba naman ang focus natin, right? So I do realize na it will take time and several generations to raise the level of science awareness, which is another issue for me. Na scientists are not considered as, sabihin natin, popular as, and I would be political here, as you know, as regulators or leaders of this country, right? There's so much, bali, they shy away from, sabihin natin, well, kasi scientists, they are a different breed of people. Sabihin natin matatalino, right? And people don't want that. Mas gusto nila yung magaganda, yung ganyan-ganyan. Which is very, very sad, right? So, right, so there has to be a very, very strong organization of scientists that would really push for, the values of being a scientist, diba? And Kasi makita mo, ang nakikita ko talaga, there was a so critical on critical thinking. Wala niyan tayo eh. Which scientists do have. Kaya nga sabi ko, it might be different kung pati ang mga bata ngayon, they think very differently. And napag-uusapan natin, things were taught very differently. The style or the focus of teaching was very different. Maybe sa generation natin, di ba? Kasi mga generation ngayon. I do understand na may technology, pero iba yung ano ngayon ng focus. But going back to that question, I mas maganda na merong strong organization sa Pilipinas that would really advocate yung science and the application of science. And this should start not being active sa ating sariling laboratories, but we need to get out and be part of people who make regulations. Hindi yung nagpapaskil lang ng mga mukha everywhere. It's so annoying, right? So yun ang reality na, as I said, it may be a rhetorical comment lang or wish list, pero I do think na yan ang naman ang aking observation.
Thank you. Ting, kami yun. Kami yung hinahanap mo. Kaya dito ka na. But we're all inclusive. Again, that's what I try to do. But PAASE is probably the most international, most diverse group of people, because NRCP is a little bit more localized. And of course, NAST is by election and may mga sweldo. Kaya ang konti-konti, wala pang 100. Kaya I think between all the three different institutions which we can bring in, I think we do have, this is a crusade already that's been ongoing for quite a while. So I think I just really need not only a show of hands, but really asking everyone to come to the interface, especially people like you who have the professional background that can contribute to the drop of knowledge, the pool of knowledge in the Philippines. That's what I did 12 years ago, and I'm still here. And believe me, the problems never go away. And sometimes they just get even bigger and more complicated. But nevertheless, yes, we should make scientists rock stars. But for them to be so, kailangan may pakinabang, kailangan may kwenta at may laman. At of course, ang importante sa lahat, talagang nakakatulong at may impact. O, si Maridon, I think, Sec Donet, nandito na.
Yeah, so
and I do think na there needs to be a master plan. Right?
Yes.
There needs to be a master plan na unlike individual activities na ginagawa din. Sabihin mo, ang galing-galing ko mag-research sa ganito. Let's say si Joel, ganun din. Magaling din siya sa research. But there's really not yung bangko, parang collaborative or a big force that would really make a big difference.
Meron yan. DOST yan. At saka meron silang 4 pillars. Kabuhayan, wealth protection, wealth creation, at ano ba? Si Donet ang pagsasabihin ko. Sa ulado ni Donet.
Okay, Yusek, it's your turn.
Yeah, pasensya na po some tech issues. So, but I was able to catch the presentations and the question ni Dr. Al. Medyo mahaba nga Al kaya hindi ko na maalala ang sagot. But there was an issue on how we bring together all the players. Is it PAASE? Is it DOST? And sino pa? But definitely from the side of government, we are working to put all the players together. So ang dami-dami. And we do welcome, for example, the efforts of PAASE and other groups to bring these groups together. Pero sana nga, as mentioned kanina, that we should be discussing and meeting more often and then updating kung ano na ba ang ginagawa sa kabila, anong ginagawa. But at the DOS, merong mga issue-based that we are looking into. Like, for example, at the AI, yung AI front, because it's also a directive from the Office of the President, or the President himself said that a national strategy on AI has to be crafted and directed the DOST to spearhead that. So, we're talking to several players in not just the research side, but also the industry, the academe, and to put up that strategy. But of course, that is a national strategy. May mga maliliit pa yan na subcom at whatever, or thematic areas. And in those areas, definitely we need other players na baka hindi namin na-consult in the first run. So, how to synchronize all these efforts. We're trying to do that at DOS. Kaya networking, and networking. As also mentioned by the other speakers, we try to reach out to as many groups and fill in more information as we do that that strategy or that roadmap. So we also have within our system the research and development institute, and more so the sectoral councils who should be doing that mapping and doing all these roadmaps. So I'm sure many of you may have been part of a technical panel, presented papers or proposals to the sectoral councils. But apart from funding, ang talagang isang role nila is doing the sectoral plans and making sure that it's not only R&D, but also moving that to the commercialization side or addressing issue-based concerns, like on stunting, like on the yung problems namin on the administrative areas. NAS is also helping us. So, tulong-tulong. Wala talaga akong masabi na sabi namin that it should be us. We are doing that, but of course, through the collaboration of the other groups, I think we can synergize and make sure that our efforts are all complementary. Yung ibang questions, ano pang question mo, Sir Al?
I think that's it po. I think
Okay, thank you.
very much. And I think there were questions for you. You set doon at dun sa
Si Joel pa, hindi pa nag-reply si Joel.
yes. Joel,
Okay, sige. I could say I completely agree to the to the answers of the other panelists. I'd also like to say, early this March, I was given the opportunity to attend to an ASEAN University network conference on STI coordination. So, which really opened my eyes. No, it looks like parang it's a role that will encourage various people from various institutions to come together to tackle a grand societal problem. So meron palang ganun. They have a special skill set, etc. And we need to have that. No? More STI coordinators in our country. So that people, it will open the barriers so that we won't compete same problem space, people giving their own solutions, and then we end up competing with each other on which solution is the best. We should come together to to put all our efforts and our skills to come up with an integrated solution. And secondly, there should be more mixer events, and tied with opportunities and grants perhaps kapag ganon. Kulang pa rin yung exposure natin to the industry, to other aspects, no, to making a proposal truly transdisciplinary. So, kulang din yung exposure natin sa beneficiaries. What are the needs that are there, problems? In fact, I'm grateful that I became a technopreneur kasi that's when I start talking to potential clients. They just tell me, parang ang natural na they say something to me na I haven't thought about that now. Just by reading papers, scientific papers, talagang totally different yung Philippine context, and that inspires me to be more out there, no, so that and then the third is yung, as I am in a space where talagang mas magagaling na yung mga bata, mas magaling sa IT technologies yung mga bata compared sa, it's different from natural sciences na the longer you stay, the more expert you are, no? Parang this time around, IT, the younger you are, the more you are, no? Because the IT space keeps on evolving. And so we need to, my reflection there is we need to give more chance to the younger people to tell what their solutions are. And I think the organizations such as PAASE should have more opportunities for the younger people to contribute what they have, because they might be disruptive, no, different from the traditional thinking, but probably a better solution than what the senior scientists could think of.
Kailangan na ng PAASE Junior.
yeah.
Yeah, PAASE Junior.
Okay.
Para sa mga
So,
30 and below.
ang PAASE ba, is it really more focused on the Philippines, or is it really
Worldwide.
50-50.
It's 600 strong,
Worldwide.
half Philippines and half world.
No, I mean I mean where would you like to make impact? Sa US
Preferably
or sa Philippines?
the Philippines.
Right?
The Philippines.
So it looks like
Bakit?
really the focus is on the Philippines using, let's say, the American training. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Ganyan,
Or rest of the
almost.
world training.
Or let's say the rest of the world.
Yeah,
So
Europe,
then the next
Australia.
question is identify those needs,
Yes.
scientific needs,
Yes.
then address those. Kasi
Yes.
nga, kung pare-pareho tayong sabihin natin magagaling sa ating independent areas, kung hindi yung focus areas, wala ring impact yon, right?
Correct. And that's what DOST is trying to get us organized on. And also the three sectors is emerging technologies, AI, energy, health, agriculture. But there's of course the 9 institutes of DOST.
So yeah, I mean, we do respect sa ating governments at sa ating DOST, right? Usually kasi nakakita natin medyo ano yan eh, kasi medyo bureaucratic yan eh. I mean, regardless of wherever it is. So talaga napaka-slow niyan. Mamatay na lang tayo, wala pa rin tayong impact as
Hindi
a
naman.
PAASE,
Buhay pa si Donut kahit 50 years.
So what I'm trying to say is it would probably be much more agile na merong sabihin nating private ba pero non-sectarian ba ang tawag? Basta mga ganyan na
Yes, yeah.
some arm na mag-mobilize kaagad.
Correct.
Kasi sabihin pa ng DOST ganito ang gusto ng president pero hindi naman ang president hindi naman scientist. Nakikinig lang siya ng kung ano ang what's the buzzword. And remember Duterte at the time, maggagawa din tayo ng viral something. He doesn't even know what that means. So yun yung may mga naivete akong nakikita o na-observe na ang makakatulong talaga is really the thinker, kumbaga the think tank. Halimbawa itong nasa nakikita ko sa picture, right? So para sa akin mas realistic yun.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, but they have a role to play, but not definitely the always the leader or the. And alam naman ni Donut yan eh. In some areas, talagang dapat it can be private-led or even NGO-led and entrepreneurial-led. So, but I think the important part is we're all trying to be a member, if not a leader of that team that you're given a respect to. So, I mean, if I had the pleasure, I would tell you, lead the regulatory policy on GMP and clinical trial and preclinical activities of our 1 billion peso Tuklas Lunas effort in the Philippine Council for Health. Yan ang trabaho mo as a balik science.
Yeah, so meron ba tayong some kind of a database that really showcase kung sino yung mga SMEs ng different areas of science?
Yeah, meron. And I think it's just a matter of peeling the onion. But I hope that I already encouraged you that kasi I mean we've been peeling this onion in the different sectors that we get.
So
again.
Yeah, Ali Ting is asking about the database. Actually, we've been asking you, Saklea, about this, about the database of balik scientists and even the list of scientists here in the Philippines. And then we showcase their research interests and their achievement and what they're working on, the papers, so that people can just go to that website and you see we can collaborate. Yun nga kasi kulang talaga.
Yes.
Kulang ng information dissemination. There are a lot of scientists really here in the Philippines. Yun lang, we don't get to see each other that much, no? Because very what do you call that? Specialized usually ang conferences, right? It's all chemical engineers, right? For chemists. So that's why the advantage actually team for APAMS, the annual PAASE meeting and symposium, is interdisciplinary. So different fields are being represented, but yes, later on we become more popular. So that was one of the questions here. It's a great series of STEAM orientation, but somebody noticed that we don't have a lot of audience right now. But I just wanted to share that this being live streamed, so we have more viewers through the FB page, and we usually also this is still available on our FB page, so they can still watch it. And so,
invite Donut, Gladys, to our PAASE meeting in July. Kasi Yusek Leia went last year, but I think maybe Yusek Donut can since she's in charge of manpower, can go to the US in July.
Pero sorry, nag-regrets na ako kay
I'm
May
here.
Zoom na
I
lang, may
already
Zoom.
invited her.
Okay.
Open your video. Okay.
because we
Yes.
have another event, international event. This time, an international Olympiad on biology, and we promised because and we're welcoming around 80 participants from 80 countries.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Naunahan tayo, Marge. But
Nice.
nevertheless, we'll get her one of these days.
Yeah.
I know where she
Get
lives.
her next time sa Pilipinas.
I saw her office.
He's joining us, Marge, from DOST. Who will be joining us from DOST?
Wala pang nag-confirm.
Leia also
Music Leia cannot come, but I don't know about Cepeda. Yeah. But anyway, you know, we're here.
Baka si Napo Anilio na lang with his Propel program. May travel si Napo.
there's one more question here. I have to ask it because with the growing convergence of mathematics and biology in today's cutting-edge research, is it possible for aspiring scientists who wish to pursue a math-focused career but are adverse to traditional lab work in the biological sciences to thrive in this field? Or is it becoming increasingly necessary for students to adopt a multidisciplinary approach in their education and training to remain competitive and in fact effective in such emerging areas? So please share your opinion about this. What do you think? Okay. Ang haba ng tanong ni Ruel eh. He's like that all the time.
Okay, wait. Let us digest. Growing convergence, is it possible for who wish to pursue a math-focused career but are adverse to traditional laboratory work? Yes, I think so. Actually, no, ako halimbawa yung line of work ko, no. So, like I mentioned, a lot of the things that we do is computational. So, I guess that also relates to the mathematics background. I think in some way nga, it's an advantage for us also because it doesn't require as much resources in
Yes.
terms of capital cost or whatever. So yun. So actually, yun yung isa sa mga considerations din namin when we explored this particular field, no? Kasi alam naman natin na sa Pilipinas, yung resources natin, hindi ganun kadami. But, so yun. So yes, so my answer is yes.
Yeah, Joel?
Okay, it reminds me of bioinformatics, which is the merging of computer science and biology. No? We have that. But, I've also had experience trying to work. I think it can be solved through multidisciplinary collaboration. So the biologist taking care of their domain, informing you, and then as computer scientists, for example, we just consider we just need labeled data set. So if we're going to, let's say, classify, we need the expertise of biologists, for example, to label what an image is, and then we just use without understanding exactly their basis for doing that, no? We just run our algorithms and then confirm with them. We co-write the paper, the results with them so that this is still sound. The analysis and insights are still sound. So it's possible without us needing to really deep dive on the biology aspect of it. But yeah, there are people who are conversant in both computer science and biology, such as those doing bioinformatics.
Okay. Thank you. How about you, Tim? Any insight?
My insight, yeah, I do think na in this world, ang ano natin is multidisciplinary, di ba? That's really hindi na yung masyadong deep. Kung ako nga tatanungin mo I would rethink kung ano yung aking career path, yung aking dinaanan, di ba? And yung pang super duper ang pagkadalubhasa mo and I felt like there were a lot of things na sa tingin ko ay napaka-impractical naman from from utility perspective. Maganda lang tingnan from academic perspective. Yun naman ang aking ang humble opinion. However, if you've adopted several multidisciplinary areas, kahanapin mo lang naman dun ang balance ng yung halimbawa bio and math, right? Kung ayaw mong mag-lab, definitely meron pa rin siyang fundamental, yung time spent in the lab para maintindihan mo ang biology aspects ng ng area to be able to really do effectively yung mathematical aspects din noon, di ba? Hindi siya magiging completely devoid of the other. So, di ba sa atin pagka maghanap ka ngayon ng let's say graduate course, titingnan mo kung alin nyo doon yung pinaka-balance na itong ganito, pero mag-create ako ng niche na ganito lang ang gagawin ko. So yun nga sabi ni Kathleen kanina, may computational aspects ng engineering, right? So doon ka kasi kung ayaw mo nang mag-lab or kung ayaw mo nang mag-field work. So ano yan, available yan, but then you need to have the right mentor to guide you and chart this course for you. Otherwise, ikaw talaga. But then if you have limited experience or depende sa drive mo, mahihirapan ka. It's either na may nauna na or ikaw ang mag-chart ng course, pero depende sa maturity sa ka-engagement ng tao. So in other words, it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And then somebody mentioned here, si Menchi, many do biology because they don't like math. but increasingly biology is taking its place, right? In terms of computational science. So yeah.
Why do we have this kind of mindset? Kasi napansin ko din yan noon eh. It's either na ayaw ko ng math kasi mahirap yan, and then there they go. Without even ito yung tawag doon, yung tinitingnan yung kanilang inire-analyze.
Yeah.
You are so dismissive as a culture na porke mahirap ng ganito or porke hindi mo gusto yung teacher mo sa ganito, you turn off on that kind of
And being good in math is not genetic. It's not genetically it is not inherited. So you can be good in math by practicing, right? Okay, so ma'am, Yusek Donnet, do you have any insight to share about the question?
Yeah, I would just like to share that right now, yung mga research projects namin, or many of the research projects being funded, I noticed that is now multidisciplinary, meaning to say we now are able to bring in several groups, like kung may kailangan kami na biologists and then the computational side, we bring them together. So there's a growing platform for multidisciplinary researchers or multidisciplinary projects, no, not only on R&D, but for example, on some projects namin in the regions where we bring in all the community and then the scientists and then the technologists and even the markets. So I think there's a way for them to work without necessarily parang becoming specialist on both areas. So kasi sa ngayon, kulang pa kasi yung ating specialist, so we're still trying to encourage to have more. But for countries na madami na sila, and then they can cross, okay lang. But right now, pareho tayong kulang. Pareho tayong kulang. So we're working hard to make both the specialists a deep dive on the technology. At the same time, yung more expertise in other areas aside from yung napag-aralan nila. I hope that helps too. Thank you.
And now, the concluding question from Angie, because it's already 12:04. Lunchtime na. Okay. Angie?
Just parang Miss Universe question. So, how you see our young scientists in their very small way can contribute to solving social challenges or global challenges. So, what will be your message to them for younger scientists or aspiring scientists?
Para sa akin, what are really those social sciences before you could really ask? I mean, social issues or concerns, what are those? Bago ka maka-propose ng solutions, right? What matters to them? Now, kung titingnan mo yan sa within the Philippine scale, or yung ano bang problema sa Pilipinas? Right? That's one. Next, Okay, with your interest in science, how will you use science to solve that problem? Now, a lot of people may no longer be interested in science. Tayo na lang mga, older generation, right? So that's another reality. No matter how much we promote this thing, if because they find science so difficult or because hindi ito na i-encourage, tapos ang definition nilang science ay iba na. It's really technology. Kasi yung halimbawa, pakikinggan ko ang presentations natin, it's really basic research, right? Basic research. At least mostly sa atin. Pero yung hindi yun ang appreciated ng tao eh. And in reality, ang nakikita ko din sa mga elementary and high school, they all go back to the very traditional science ng herbal medicine this. Why? It's so simple. It's so bang yung level niya ay hindi ganun tulad sa bang tawag doon sa level ng let's say global definition of Hindi tayo ganon. So may mga reality checks din tayo na pwedeng na gawin. So there needs to be a pulse sa ating society on science. Bago sila makano ng ano ba talaga ang problema nila. Kasi ang problema natin, our perceived problem may not be their problem.
We have to have a survey.
Panalo na ako, Gladys. Ako na ba ang miss something?
Yes, you're Miss Miss
Ako na
Universe.
ba?
Yes. Okay, next please, who would like to share an answer?
Sige. Ako, siguro if there's something that I learned, pursuing this career, which I hope the younger generation would realize earlier on in their life, is yun nga, we can actually make a difference as long, parang ganon, you have to be empowered. Parang wag na natin isipin na kakopya't lang tayo ng kakopya sa ibang tao and have our own, alam mo yun, our own reality. I think the session is all about knowing what drives you, what you're curious about. And I think that's a very powerful initiator for anything. So if you've identified a problem, ganon. So if it's something really valuable to you, I think that already helps you think more, try to figure out solutions, and in a way you will find yourself na you're discovering more things, trying to learn more things. So parang implementing the scientific method to identify the solution to those problems.
Yes, thank you. Next, who wants to be the next one?
Ano ba? First of all, thank you for the wonderful question. I believe Miss Universe.
Ang daya.
No. Anyway, I'm thinking kasi innovation doesn't have to be grand. It could even start very small, no? I think one thing that needs to be cultivated first, and that could be done by a child, no, is to learn how to properly recognize how what an issue is and how it, and if based on his own knowledge or skill set, it could be improved using his or own way of finding the solution. The younger generation should be trained how to properly recognize a problem and then come up with relevant solutions to the problem within their own capacity. And as you go along, as you learn more, I think that's when the solution becomes more and more stronger. Pero I believe that everybody should contribute. It doesn't have to be just the leaders who will solve the problem. You need to recognize that you could also contribute in your own way. And as Kay said earlier, that you need to apply proper systematic thinking to come up with a solution. And I think the scientist's science education would help you be that. Mhm. That's all. Thank you. And world peace.
And then last but not least, Yusek.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Gladys. And I agree with Joel's answer and everyone. I would answer siguro by sharing that I get inspired because we're running a series of parang technopreneurship or uh, ibang training courses for our scholars, those who are about to graduate, and also for our young Philippine Science High School students. We ask them to look at some problems, devise a solution, and identify based on their knowledge or at least their science background, identify solutions, work out prototypes and the like. So you will be amazed at how they look at a problem and provide solutions. So tama si Joel, they need not be very grand and they do not be parang game changing, but they do are focused to address very specific problems of a community or a family or wherever they are, because we run the program nationwide or at least in some regions. And imagine, sabi ko nga, imagine if we have been, they have access to the right tools, their expertise even deepened more. So imagine the solutions that they can provide. So again, a lot would boil down to education, to exposure, and to the teachers. Our educational community, our educational system needs a lot of help. And that's also one aspect that I hope we can also work on, not just on the students, but our teachers, because in the first place, they do provide inputs to our students. And sometimes you go to a course because you have very good teachers. And that's what we're also looking into. Sana rin ang ating teachers would also give the same attention and support that they also need so that they can mentor our students very well. So I hope that also helps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that ends our um, Q&A portion. And then can we share, we would like to share some more activities of PAASE. Or are we gonna request our
Group picture, and I'll
attendance?
share.
Yes.
Group picture.
Group picture daw muna. Okay, smile.
For those who would like to join for the group picture, kindly open your camera.
Okay, smile.
Dali lang, waiting for some to open their camera. Okay. Okay. So for the upcoming events of sorry, for the
Sorry, so
upcoming events of APAMS, we are calling for abstract for APAMS that will be held at University of Southern Carolina from July 19 to 20. But we'll also have the online rec symposium and poster competition from July 15 to 16. It's an online. So please submit your abstract for oral and poster presentation. Then we'll have poster competition. This will be a 3-minute talk plus 2-minute Q&A. And there will be big prizes for the winner. So please scan the code to submit your poster and join the competition. So as you can see, the first prize is 7,000, second prize 5,000, and the third prize is 3,000. And for those runner-ups, you also get 2,000 pesos. And then we also have the graduate fellows application. So for graduate students who would like to attend the APAMS, please apply for the fellowship graduate fellows application. So your registration fee will be waived if you attend APAMS and if you are accepted for this fellowship. So please register using this QR code. So there will be fees, registration fee for local participants and for international participants. So just take note of this, and it's also posted in our Facebook. So if you want to get more information, just visit our Facebook or our website.
that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. Kay and Joel, are you going to join us in South Carolina?